Today I'm going to share with you a couple things, a little riff I just came up with. I'll talk a little bit about my gear, how I created that sound, and how you can create your own riffs based off of maybe songs that you know, just combining them in different ways. So I'll start off with the gear. I'll just go through my whole signal path. Ibanez artist, this is like early 80s. I have a Seymour Duncan jazz pickup in the neck, and then a Seymour Duncan Jeff Beck in the bridge. And I have these switches here where I can go from series to a parallel sound to like a single coil split sound. So usually for the rock stuff I like to use the parallel setting because it cuts a little bit more, kind of like a P90. Right now I'm in the neck position, and I'll also talk about my tone settings. So right now I have both volumes about 4. So I'm trying to create almost like a Strat kind of sound, so it's not too thick. And then I have my tone of the neck pickup about 2, and then my tone of the treble pickup about 4. So let's maybe just take a minute and just kind of listen to the switching the pickup. So I'm going to go back to, I'll just sit on the A riff. Okay, now I'm going to go middle pickup. Now I'm going to go to the treble pickup. So I'll play the riff a couple times through, and I'll just kind of switch without saying anything. So you'll be able to see on the video, neck, middle, treble, so you can kind of hear the difference. Okay. Go back to neck pickup. So realize my volumes are only on 4. So you're probably wondering, where is he getting all this gain? Okay, so you might be a little bit surprised how I'm doing this, but that's the kind of one of the purposes of this video, because from all my years of teaching, I found that having all the right settings and tones helps you to play a song, like Smoke on the Water, War Pigs, Grand Funk Railroad, whatever. If you have the right tone setting, right guitar, right pickups, then you'll be able to play the song more convincingly. So right now I'm playing through a 1 watt Blackheart, what is this called, the Killer Bee or something like that, 1 watt amp and a 10-inch speaker. So that's going to be a little bit more mid-rangey, nasally. So this is this is the amp about halfway up, and so I'm rolled back to 4. So this is just that's just the amp. You probably can barely even hear that. Okay. So I'm just going to sort of sit. I'm just going to sort of sit on this power chord. So now what I'm going to do, I have an Expandora, the original one, the one that has the dip switches in the middle, inside. So right now I'm pretty sure I'm on the distortion, which was like the first dip switch up, second one down. And my settings here are: I have my gain about 9 o'clock, tone 12 o'clock. And then my level is at 9 o'clock too. So very low, very low gain for that. So I'll add that next. Okay, so you. All right, so it's a very thin sound. So just for giggles, I'll just take that and just kind of roll my volume up a little bit. So this is something players have to you want to get used to doing is experiment with different volume settings and tone settings to get the sound that you want. Just don't just run everything on 10. So I'm just going to roll this up until I get the sound that I think is cool. So this is just the Expandora as a distortion. that's kind of interesting on 8. So I'll take both volumes and run them up to 8. So much different. That's a much different tone than what I started with. Okay, so now I think this is a pretty good strategy overall, is to take, you know, 2 different overdrive pedals or an overdrive and a fuzz, combine them together to create the sound. So that's how I did this. So the Expandora, I have it a pretty low volume. I have my guitar volumes and tones fairly low. Now what I'm going to put in the signal chain next is something called the DiceWorks Finalé. You can Google this. It was a custom-made pedal. I happened to be working at a guitar store in State College, and the guy who makes these just stopped by, and he sold a couple to the owner. So I got one of the original prototypes. This is the DiceWorks Finalé with all the bells and whistles on. The Cornish mods. Tone bender, big muff, it's got all different kind of settings. So right now I have the Cornish mods on, and I have it on the numeral 1 setting, which I'm not sure which one. There's like 3 settings. I'm not sure which one that is. And then I have it on the big muff. My volume is at 12 o'clock. My tone is at 9 o'clock, and my fuzz is at 12 o'clock too. So you can hear the difference. So here's that Expandora. Now I'm going to put on this DiceWorks fuzz, and you can hear that's the sound. What I'll do next is I'm just going to sort of go back to just that softer setting, and I'll just very briefly discuss the riff itself. Okay, so now to get to the other point of this video is, how do you take stuff that you already know and create it into your own riff, like I just did. So this middle part here, okay, this is like the tritones that Jimmy Page uses in rock and roll. Tritones, it's the 3rd and flat at 7th of like an A7 chord, G C sharp, D7 chord, F sharp C, 3rd and 7th, and then an E7 chord, 3rd and 7th, G sharp D. So it's just kind of interesting how 1 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord. So that's the first element I did. So I sat down earlier this morning, and I dialed in that sound, and then I was able to kind of create this riff by just kind of messing around with some different elements. Okay, so that was the first part of it. So I'm using open A as a pedal here, and I'm doing like a slight palm mute just to kind of tame it a little bit. Right. So a big part of playing through like a tube amp or a hybrid tube amp is you want to be able to kind of sometimes hit hard and sometimes hit soft. So I'm hitting kind of soft and palm muting on the rhythm. And then when I do this pull-off riff, then I'm gonna leave off the palm mute. Okay, so that's the first part. Then this part here, this is a Crazy Train basically. Right, that's Randy Rhoads' Crazy Train riff. I'm not a big Randy Rhoads guy, so I don't know that. I don't even kind of can't think of the riff off the top of my head. But I'm just taking that little thing, that little mixolydian riff that he does going into the chorus. So I'm going to do double pull off, B A G, F sharp E D, C sharp B A. So just double pull off. Yeah. So that's the essential riff. So I'm taking sort of a Led Zeppelin riff, and then I'm taking Randy Rhoads riff. There's also a lick that I like a lot from Page, where he in Moby Dick, where he does. I just love that riff. It's just a double pull off in D Dorian, pulling off to open string. So here I'm just pulling off to the open strings: B A G, F sharp E D, and then C sharp E A. So I'm combining those two elements. So. So you can see how much adding the dice works, and meshing those two pedals together makes a big difference, a big change. Another sound that I used to use a lot was what was that? The two pedals. I would use the Vox tone, valve tone, and Fulltone OCD. Put those two together, and that was a nice combination. Okay, so what I decided to do for the D chord is I kind of made, I decided to go, because I wanted to make the riffs the same, and I didn't want to have to do a stretch, and I didn't want to have to change the riff. So what I could have done, which I did earlier when I was creating this riff, I went D chord, I used still mixolydian, but I just didn't like that as much. I mean, it's not bad. So instead, I decided to make that first one a little bit longer, so I had time to do the slide. So you have EDC, slide, BAG, double pull off, F sharp ED. So now the other thing that I added in later as I was developing the riff, I added in the idea that Page does in What Is and What Should Never Be. So on the E chord, right? So sometimes he adds the F sharp note to the E chord, the 9, and then sometimes he adds that note. So I decided to I could add that. So I didn't play it in the initial. In the opening to the video, because I'd forgotten about that, but maybe I'll do that a little bit now. So I'm going to play this riff here. I'm going to add in that note occasionally, and then I'll work with this D mixolydian thing as well. So I think to make it sound good, you have to make sure you're really muting that middle string, because otherwise I wasn't really. You have to kind of get that one muted. Okay, and then the E chord. So you just move this tritone up to here. Yeah, so you can mute the low E, add that note, and then you can add that note there. I guess you could also maybe add the 9. So sometimes when you're playing with a lot of overdrive, it doesn't sound quite as good to add all those upper partials. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, it's just a little bit too distorted. I'd probably have to change all my gains here. So that fifth rings through pretty nice there. Okay, and then the riff itself is F sharp E D, double pull off C sharp B A, and then G sharp F sharp E, E mixolydian. E7 chord, E mixolydian. Right, and then a lot of times what I tend to do with my style is I tend to, if I'm adding a note on top, a lot of times I'll hit that with an upstroke. Okay. My friend Rocky here, he likes to keep me honest, and he likes to make sure that I don't hold anything back. So what was that? Okay, he wants me to tell people a little secret. So just from years and years of teaching, you start to notice things about your playing that you just do unconsciously. So one of the things that I do that totally changes my sound is when I'm hitting some of these chords, I'm not just using a pick. Right now I'm using an Old Tex, like a large triangle pick. So So what I'm doing is I'm choking up on the pick, and as I'm picking through here, I'm actually letting my finger, my index finger, go against the string. Okay, here's pick. Yeah, okay, now I'm going to add the finger. Oh my god, that sounds horrible. There we go. Sorry. Kind of fattens up the sound. So I'll play the riff, just pick. So it's very sharp sounding. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the technique that I just used kind of naturally, and I kind of listen for and feel it. Is I'm going to, as I'm playing that riff, I'm sort of hitting down on the strings, and I'm holding my fingers in such a way that's almost like my finger. It's almost like my finger becomes like an extension of the pick. Now there I'm choking on the pick, and I'm making sure that I'm just hitting pick there with the riff. Okay, so that's the riff for today. Came up with. So I talked a little bit about my gear, the Expandora, original Expandora, Diceworks Finalé, black hard amp, and then talked a little bit about the pickups and just different tone settings. Okay, so thanks for listening. I'm just going to end off with another riff I've been messing around with, just a simple one, E minor G D, and I'm just going to play out. And so hope you enjoyed that video. You can make up some of your own riffs, and thanks a lot for watching. So here it is, E minor G D, two pedals put together.